Everything is just on the line on April 29. AJ talks about having 10 years left in boxing. So part of me doesn't want to rush, but we're rushing into the Klitschko fight. Why not keep going? Deontay Wilder will be ringside. That's a natural fight. Joseph Parker is another fight as well. It's all about winning, but he certainly wants to be in the biggest fights possible over the next 10 years. Nothing is guaranteed in boxing. If there is no value in the rematch, then you won't see it again. If it's a great fight, certainly we can't rule out doing it again. Those are the words of Eddie Hearn talking about the potential future plans of his main charge, really, Anthony Joshua, who is the IBF heavyweight champion at the moment. Will he still be IBF heavyweight champion after April 29? We can't wait to find out. If he is, and depending on his performance, there's the possibility that Joshua could go on and have a long reign. Now, I've said this many times, and I've seen nothing so far to make me feel any different. But I don't believe that there will be any one heavyweight that will dominate the heavyweight division for the next 10 years or so, in terms of remaining unbeaten. Can't see it. I think all these guys are going to lose. Tyson Fury, if he comes back and makes a serious run at the heavyweight title again, I believe he'll lose. Joshua, I think, will lose. Parker, all these guys, I think they're all going to lose. The competition is a lot more even than it was during the Klitschko reign. During the majority of the Klitschko reign anyway, where there were very few big, tall, athletic, young heavyweights out there. So Klitschko had height and reach and size over the vast majority of his opponents during the majority of his reign. Both him and his brother Vitaly did. Whereas now it's not quite like that. There's a lot of guys that are big and tall and strong and athletic and young. I mean, even some of the newcomers who will be turning professional shortly, or some of the guys who have turned professional. You look at Daniel Dubois, he's like 6'5" or 6'6", something like that. You got Tony Yoka, who won the Olympic gold. He's 6'6" or 6'7". You know, so even the guys coming through from the amateurs are all big, tall giants of men. So it's a totally different era where, at least in terms of physical attributes, the fighters are a lot more evenly matched than they were in the Klitschko era. So I can't see anybody reigning without losing for any prolonged period of time. Although at the end of the next 10 years, let's say, when Anthony Joshua's, what will he be, 37 in 10 years' time? I believe he's 27 now or 28. So at the end of the next 10 years, will Joshua have emerged as the most dominant heavyweight? Not unbeaten, but in a kind of Lennox Lewis type way, will he emerge as the best fighter of this particular generation, of this era? Possibly. Will Anthony Joshua even be fighting in 10 years' time? It remains to be seen. It depends on how his life goes, really. Why do fighters fight on for so long? Because as a person who's never been a professional fighter, I've never been paid for a fight. I can't really, you know, as someone in that position, I look at fighters making all these millions. And I think to myself, why are they still fighting? If I was in their position, I'd be out. But they obviously have a desire, the top level guys I'm talking about, the likes of the Klitschkos and whatnot, guys of the past like Holyfield, etc. They obviously have a desire that most of us just don't have for the sport. You know, I know they all like to make money and all that kind of stuff, but look at Klitschko now. You trying to tell me he's fighting Joshua purely for the money? That must be more for the glory than the money, because he's made incredible amounts of money already. So why is he going on for so long? How do these fighters who are so rich and so successful get this boxing bug? They really do have, I guess, massive egos, for one, because they can't, you know, Klitschko don't feel like he can go out on a loss. He wants to rule the division once again. So, I don't know. It's a little bit deep. It's a little bit wishy-washy here, but hopefully you get the point I'm making, or the question I'm asking. So let me know your thoughts on this, people. Can AJ reign supreme for 10 years? Or will he even be fighting in 10 years? Maybe he won't reign supreme for 10 years, but will still be boxing. by then. Another thing to mention is the fact that fighters these days are more financially empowered than they were back in the 90s and earlier. They don't get ripped off as badly as they used to. There's still plenty of snakes and crooked people in boxing, but it's not as bad as it used to be. Fighters of this generation, I don't think as many of them are going to end up broke as the previous generation of fighters. So with that in mind, you might see fighters having shorter careers, because the fighters of the previous generation, a lot of them went on and on and on because they never made the kind of money that you think they would have made. They were in big fights and had all kind of world titles, but ended up destitute, a lot of them, because of getting ripped off by shady promoters and shady managers, so on and so forth. Whereas with the situation being a bit more favorable in these days for fighters, there may be less incentive for fighters to go on, other than the truly obsessed guys like Klitschko, who don't really go on for the money. It's more about pride and ego and legacy and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, these are just some ramblings and musings here, people. Forgive me, but let me know what you feel about everything I talked about in the video. All right, it's happening. I'm out.